In the heart of Botswana lies a vast wetland. This is the Okavango Delta. It's a world of water and islands teeming with life. Here, in the Duba Plains, a special story began in 1996. A new generation was born into one of the local lion prides. Among the tiny spotted cubs were two brothers. From their first moments, they were inseparable. They shared a bond that was clear to all who watched. They tumbled and played together under the watchful eyes of their mother and the other lionesses. They were a picture of innocence in a wild and often dangerous world. These two brothers spent their days exploring their small world. They stalked insects in the tall grass. They playfully pounced on their mother's twitching tail. Their life was one of warmth and security, surrounded by the strength of their family. The pride was ruled by powerful males, their fathers, who protected the territory and its precious cubs. The plains provided plenty of food. The lionesses were skilled hunters, bringing down zebra and wildebeest. For these young cubs, the future seemed bright and endless. The world was a safe haven, a paradise of sun-drenched savanna and cool, shady thickets where they could rest. Their early life was a continuous lesson in being a lion. They watched the adults interact, learning the complex social rules of the pride. They mimicked the hunt, stalking their own siblings with clumsy determination. The older of the two was often the instigator of their games, while the younger followed his lead with boundless energy. Their connection was more than just play. It was a deep-seated alliance forming in the cradle of their youth. This bond, forged in the peaceful days of their cubhood, would one day be tested in the most extreme ways imaginable. But for now, they were just two small princes in a vast and beautiful kingdom. The Okavango Delta is a dynamic place, constantly changing with the seasons. The floodwaters rise and fall, reshaping the landscape. For the lions of Duba, this meant life was always on the move. The pride followed the herds, their existence tied to the rhythm of the wild. The two brothers learned the scents of the air and the sounds of the bush. They learned the warning calls of birds and the low rumbles of distant buffalo. Every day was an education, preparing them for the challenges that lay ahead. Unseen and unknown to them, the world outside their pride's territory was stirring, and the peace of their paradise was about to be broken. The tranquil world of the young brothers was destined for a sudden and violent end. When they were just 4 months old, disaster struck. The scent of strange males filled the air. 3 powerful nomads, driven by the instinct to conquer new territory, launched a brutal invasion. The resident males of the pride fought bravely to defend their family and their home. The air was filled with furious roars and the sounds of a desperate battle. But the defenders were outnumbered and outmatched. One by one they were defeated, their reign brought to a bloody conclusion. Chaos erupted among the lionesses and their cubs. In the terrifying confusion, the pride scattered. The lionesses fled in all directions, each trying to save her young from the murderous rage of the new rulers. In these takeovers, incoming males will kill any cubs that are not their own. It is a cruel but effective strategy to bring the lionesses back into season so they can sire their own offspring. The mother of the two brothers was frantic. She tried to gather her cubs and escape the mayhem. In the panic and the darkness, she managed to grab one of her sons, carrying him northwards into the unknown. The other was left behind, lost in the stampede of fleeing lions. The separation was swift and final. One brother was carried away, his cries lost in the night. The other was scooped up by a different lioness fleeing south. Each cub was now alone, torn from the only family he had ever known. They were miles apart, whisked away to different corners of the vast delta. Each was now in the care of a desperate, fugitive lioness. The bond that had been so strong was broken in a single night of violence. They were too young to understand what had happened. All they knew was that the warmth and safety of their pride and the familiar presence of their brother was gone. In the aftermath of the takeover, the Duba Plains settled into a new, uneasy order. under the rule of the victorious males. But for the two lost brothers, everything had changed. Their lives were now set on two completely different paths. They would grow up in separate worlds shaped by different environments and different challenges. Each would face a struggle for survival without the other. They would grow into adulthood, believing their brother had perished in the chaos of that terrible night. The memory of their shared cubhood would fade, buried under years of hardship and solitude. The brother carried north found himself in a harsh and unforgiving world. The lioness who saved him fell in with a nomadic group, constantly on the move. Life was a daily struggle. They lived in the dry woodlands, where prey was scarce and competition was fierce. This brother had to learn to be tough from a very young age. He became a resourceful and opportunistic hunter, learning to catch small animals to survive. His life was one of constant conflict, fending off hyenas and clashing with other lions. This unforgiving upbringing molded him into an aggressive and formidable fighter. His body became a map of his difficult life. His hide was crisscrossed with scars from countless battles. A deep gash above his eye, a permanent reminder of a close call with a buffalo's horn, gave him a menacing look. His mane, as it grew, was dark and rugged, not as full as it might have been with better nutrition. He was lean, wiry, and powerful. Every inch of him spoke of resilience and a will to survive against the odds. He was a product of the northern woodlands, a scarred, tough, and battle-hardened warrior who trusted no one and relied only on his own strength. Meanwhile, the southern brother experienced a very different fate. The lioness who rescued him found a safe haven in the lush wetlands to the south. This area was rich with prey. She joined a small, stable pride consisting of 3 other lionesses. Here, food was abundant and life was peaceful. This brother grew up in a world of plenty. He did not have to fight for every meal. This life of security and good nutrition allowed him to grow to his full genetic potential. He became an exceptionally large and powerful lion, bigger than his northern sibling, with a magnificent full mane tinged with gold. Despite his comfortable life, a sense of loss seemed to linger. Observers often noted his behavior. He would frequently stand on termite mounds, his golden head held high, and let out long, mournful calls into the wind. It was as if he was searching for something or someone he had lost long ago. While his brother learned aggression, he learned patience. He watched the lionesses hunt the great herds of buffalo and learned strategy. He became a thoughtful and calculated hunter, relying on intellect as much as brawn. He was a king in a land of plenty, yet he seemed incomplete. 7 long years passed. The 2 brothers, now fully mature and in their prime, were powerful forces in their respective territories. They were strangers to each other, separated by time and distance. Each weighed over 450 pounds, magnificent specimens of their species. But the instincts that tie lions to their birthplace are powerful. A primal urge began to pull both of them back towards the center of their world, back to the Duba Plains where they were born. They began to roam, their paths slowly but surely converging on their ancestral home, neither aware of the other's existence. The northern brother, the scarred warrior, was the first to arrive back in the core territory. True to his nature, he was on the hunt. Using his skill and aggression, he managed to bring down a young buffalo, a formidable feat for a single lion. As he began to feed on his hard-won prize, another massive male lion appeared on the horizon. It was the southern brother, the golden-maned giant drawn by the scent of the kill. A confrontation seemed inevitable. 2 strange, powerful males meeting over a fresh kill is almost always a recipe for a violent and potentially fatal battle for dominance. The 2 lions circled each other, muscles tensed. Growls rumbled deep in their chests. The northern brother stood his ground, ready to defend his kill against this intruder. The southern brother approached cautiously, assessing his opponent. They were on the brink of a terrible fight. But then something incredible happened. As they drew closer, they caught each other's scent. It was a scent that stirred a faint, long-buried memory from the deepest corners of their minds. It was the scent of family, the scent of their own blood. The aggression in their eyes softened, replaced by a look of confusion, and then of recognition. Instead of tearing into each other, they stopped. The tension vanished, replaced by something entirely different. They moved closer and began to nuzzle each other's faces, rubbing their heads together in a profound display of affection. They made soft, chuffing sounds, vocalizations used between lions with a strong social bond. After 7 years of separation, believing each other to be dead, the two brothers had found one another. The bond forged in their first few months of life had endured. In the heart of the Duba Plains, over a buffalo carcass, the brotherhood was miraculously restored. The reunion was immediate and absolute. There was no period of adjustment. From that moment on, they were a single, united force. They immediately formed a coalition, a partnership that would become the stuff of legend. Together, they were more powerful than either could ever be alone. They set about establishing their dominance in the Duba Plains, a territory of some 8,000 acres. This region was known for having the highest concentration of Cape buffalo in the entire Okavango Delta. These were dangerous, powerful animals that most lions would only hunt in large groups. The brothers, however, saw an opportunity. They quickly became known as the Duba Boys, and their reputation as exceptional buffalo hunters grew. They developed a unique and devastatingly effective strategy that played to their individual strengths. The southern brother, being the larger and heavier of the two, had the role of the anchor. He would use his immense weight and power to latch onto the front of a massive buffalo, sometimes weighing up to 2,000 pounds, and wrestle it to a standstill. He had the patience and strength to hold on, absorbing the powerful struggles of their prey and bringing its formidable horns under control. While the southern brother pinned the beast, the northern brother would put his agility and aggression to use. He was the attacker. He would circle to the rear of the immobilized buffalo and launch himself onto its back. With his powerful jaws, he would work to sever the animal's spinal cord or clamp down on its windpipe. His scarred, tenacious nature made him a relentless finisher. This combination of the southern brother's brute strength and the northern brother's agile ferocity made them an unstoppable hunting duo. They could take down the largest, most dangerous bulls, a feat few other lion coalitions would even attempt. Their success at hunting buffalo provided them with a constant supply of food. This meant they were always in peak physical condition, ready to defend their territory and expand their influence. Other predators like hyenas would not dare to challenge two massive male lions on their kill. The Duba Boys had unlocked the secret to thriving in this challenging environment. Their brotherly bond, once shattered, had been reforged into a perfect hunting partnership. They were a testament to the power of cooperation, turning one of the Delta's most dangerous animals into their primary source of strength. With their territory secured and their food supply guaranteed, the Duba Boys turned their attention to the ultimate goal for any male lion, passing on their genes. Their power and prowess did not go unnoticed by the local lionesses. By the end of 2003, they had achieved something extraordinary. They had taken control of not one, but 3 separate prides within their vast territory. This was an unusually large dominion for a coalition of just 2 males. They became the undisputed kings of the Duba Plains, their reign extending over a complex and sprawling empire of lionesses, and soon their own offspring. Their kingdom consisted of the main Duba pride, with 6 adult females at its core. To the north, they controlled the Skimmer pride, which had 4 lionesses, and to the south, they held sway over the Zaro pride, with another 5 females. In total, they presided over 15 adult lionesses. Managing such a large and dispersed empire required strategy and constant effort. The brothers developed an ingenious system to maintain their rule. They could not be in 3 places at once, so they took turns patrolling their domain. This was a testament to the absolute trust they had in one another. One brother would often stay with the main Duba pride, guarding the females and their cubs from any potential threats. Meanwhile, the other brother would embark on a long patrol, covering miles of territory to visit the outlying Skimmer and Zaro prides. He would reinforce their scent markings along the borders, roar to announce his presence, and spend time with the other lionesses, ensuring their loyalty and protecting them from rivals. Then they would switch. This constant rotation ensured that their presence was always felt throughout the kingdom, deterring any nomadic males who might see an opportunity. This system was incredibly successful. Soon the prides were filled with their cubs. By 2005, the Duba Boys had fathered over 20 offspring. Their legacy was growing, their bloodlines spreading throughout the plains. They were at the absolute peak of their power, 2 brothers ruling a vast and prosperous kingdom they had built together. Their story was no longer just one of survival. It was a story of conquest and dynastic rule. They had transformed from lost cubs into the most dominant and successful lions in the entire Okavango Delta. An empire, no matter how great, is never without its challenges. The very success of the Duba Boys began to create new and dangerous threats. The numerous cubs they had fathered were growing up. By 2005 and 2006, their own sons were maturing into powerful young males. In the world of lions, a son is a future rival. From the northern Skimmer pride, a formidable group of 4 young males emerged. They became known as the Skimmer Boys. In the south, 5 ambitious young males from the Zaro pride also formed a powerful coalition. The kings were now surrounded by their own ambitious princes. These internal threats were a natural part of the lion life cycle. The young males were driven by the same instincts that had once propelled the Duba Boys to power. They began to test the boundaries, their youthful strength and ambition, a direct challenge to their father's rule. The Duba Boys now had to contend with the fact that the next generation, their own flesh and blood, was plotting to overthrow them. The empire they had built was threatening to crumble from within. They had to spend more time and energy asserting their dominance over their increasingly bold sons. As if the internal pressure wasn't enough, a new danger emerged from beyond their borders. Their long and prosperous reign had been noticed by lions in neighboring territories. 2 mature, battle-hardened males, themselves experienced rulers, began to probe the edges of the Duba Boys' kingdom. These were not young, inexperienced lions. They were hardened killers looking to expand their own territory. They sensed that the Duba Boys, now entering middle age, might be vulnerable, especially with the internal strife caused by their sons. The pressure was mounting from all sides. The Duba Boys were caught between the ambitions of their sons and the threat of foreign invaders. Their patrol system, once a symbol of their efficiency, now became a source of vulnerability. When the brothers were apart, each was potentially isolated and at risk of being outnumbered. The golden age of their empire was drawing to a close, and a period of intense conflict was beginning. The storm clouds were gathering over the Duba Plains, and the 2 kings would need all of their strength and cunning to weather the coming tempest. In early 2007, the threat from the outside invaders became a terrifying reality. The northern brother, the scarred warrior, was on a solo patrol near the edge of their territory. It was here that the 2 rival males saw their chance. They launched a coordinated and vicious ambush. The northern brother was caught completely by surprise. He fought with all the fury and experience he had gained over a lifetime of battle, but he was outnumbered 2 to 1. The attackers were relentless, inflicting deep wounds with their teeth and claws. He was being overwhelmed, his strength failing. Severely injured and facing certain death, the northern brother summoned his last reserves of strength. He let out a desperate, roaring call for help. It was a sound of pure agony and defiance, a call that echoed for miles across the plains. 3 miles away, with the main pride, the southern brother heard it. He recognized the sound of his brother in mortal danger instantly. Without a moment's hesitation, he abandoned the pride and took off at a full sprint. He ran with a single-minded purpose, his massive body crashing through the bush, driven by the unbreakable bond they shared. He arrived at the scene like an avenging fury. He didn't slow down or assess the situation. He simply crashed into the two attackers with all the force of his 450-pound frame. The ambushers were stunned by the sudden and violent arrival of the second giant. The tables had turned in an instant. Now facing the combined might of the two enraged brothers, the invaders lost their nerve. The Duba Boys, reunited and fighting back-to-back, unleashed their fury. The brief, violent clash ended with the two invaders fleeing for their lives. Their attempted coup a bloody failure. The brothers had won, but the victory came at a great cost. The northern brother was grievously wounded. His body was covered in deep cuts, and one of his legs was badly damaged by a bite to the hip. Although he survived, he would walk with a permanent limp for the rest of his life. The incident was a stark reminder of their growing vulnerability, yet it was also the ultimate proof of their extraordinary bond. One had roared for help and the other had come without question. Their brotherhood had saved them, but the battle left them scarred and weakened, foreshadowing the final chapters of their reign. The years and the battles began to take their toll. By the end of 2007, the Duba Boys were 11 years old, considered ancient for wild male lions who face a life of constant peril. Their bodies were a testament to their long and violent reign, covered in old scars and new injuries. The northern brother's limp was a constant, painful reminder of the ambush he had survived. Their strength, once seemingly limitless, was now beginning to wane. They were old kings, and the world is never kind to old kings. The younger, stronger lions could sense their decline. The end for the northern brother came on December 29th, 2007. Still bravely maintaining his duties, he was patrolling alone, his limp making him slow and vulnerable. He was ambushed again, this time by several rival males. It may have been the Skimmer Boys, his own sons, or another coalition of challengers. Despite his age and injury, he fought with legendary courage. He managed to fight them off, but he was catastrophically wounded in the process. Bleeding and broken, he dragged his shattered body to a nearby waterhole, perhaps seeking refuge. It was there that his life met a brutal and ironic end, finished off not by lions, but by a herd of buffalo who gored the helpless predator. 2 days later, his brother found his body. The southern brother was now alone. The loss was profound. For years, they had been an invincible unit, and now half of that strength was gone. Aging and solitary, the magnificent golden-maned lion's health began to decline rapidly. The grief and the burden of ruling alone weighed heavily on him. By July 2008, driven by desperation and hunger, he attempted the hunt that had once been their specialty. He tried to take down a large buffalo bull by himself, but his aging body, lacking the support of his brother, failed him. He lacked the power to control the massive beast. The buffalo, in its powerful struggle for life, turned the tables on the old hunter. It gored him deep in the chest with its formidable horns, inflicting a fatal internal injury. The king had been vanquished. He managed to cling to life for 3 agonizing days, his immense strength finally giving out. He died at a river's edge on July the 28th, 2008. He had reached the same remarkable age as his brother. The era of the Duba Boys was over. The two brothers, who had found each other by chance and built an empire together, had met their ends as they had lived, fighting against the brutal forces of the wild. The deaths of the two brothers marked the end of an era in the Okavango Delta, but their story did not end there. The legacy of the Duba Boys is one that has endured, studied and admired by wildlife experts and nature lovers around the world. Their reign was remarkable for its length and its dominance. They held their territory and ruled their prides together for nearly 5 years, from their reunion in 2003 until the first brother's death in late 2007. This is more than double the average ruling lifespan of a male lion coalition, a testament to their strength, strategy, and unique bond. Their story provided invaluable insights into lion behavior. Their unlikely reunion after 7 years apart highlighted the deep instinctual importance of familial bonds. Their specialized hunting technique, a perfect synergy of their different strengths, demonstrated the incredible adaptability and intelligence of these apex predators. The way they managed their vast three-pride empire with a coordinated patrol system showcased a level of social cooperation and trust rarely documented in such detail. They were not just brutes. They were strategists and master politicians of the animal kingdom. Even in their decline and death, they offered powerful lessons about the harsh realities of life in the wild. Their story is a complete saga with a dramatic beginning, a triumphant middle, and a tragic end. It encapsulates the endless cycle of life and death, of power gained and power lost. The threats they faced from their own sons illustrated the inevitable changing of the guard, where each generation must eventually give way to the next. Their final lonely battles were a poignant reminder that even the most powerful kings cannot defy age and time forever. Today, the bloodline of the Duba Boys still flows in the veins of the lions of the Okavango. Their numerous offspring continued their genetic legacy long after they were gone, but their true legacy is the incredible story they left behind. A tale of 2 brothers, lost and found, who rose to conquer a kingdom. They were the Buffalo Slayers, the rulers of 3 prides, the legends of the Duba Plains. Their story of brotherhood, resilience, and ultimate sacrifice has become a timeless epic, a dramatic chapter in the great book of the African wilderness that will never be forgotten.